so much for joining this webinar. Sorry for this little complication at the beginning. So we're here together for an hour. The idea is to discuss everything about DMA and DSA and see the impact on Google Maps and all the local SEO. As explained on delay, you can ask any question during the discussion. Before getting into the technical aspect of DMA, just want to remind you a bit what Part2 does. So Part2 is a company of 400 people. We operate in 150 countries. And basically what we do is to manage the local presence of stores on maps, on Apple directories, and GPS, etc. We also have a store locator solution. We manage social networks, reviews, and message from a single platform. And we do that for 800 clients in 150 countries, which represent around 200,000 businesses. And you can see some of our clients in this slide. And basically, we are the experts on local SEO and reputation. So today, we'll first get into an analysis of DMA and its implication for Google and Google Maps. We will also decode the upcoming changes on local search results. I'll give you some practical advice to adapt thanks to local SEO strategies, and also we'll have a Q&A session. So the first slide is really important because it's basically the definition of two big EU digital regulation. The first one is called DSA, for Digital Service Act, and you need to remember that it's to fight disinformation and harmful content. So it's very different from the second one, which is called DMA, for Digital Market Act. This one is to ensure fair competition. So DSA is for disinformation, DMA is for competition. So the DSA is fighting disinformation and actually impact Google Maps because Google has to fight GBP fake listings, fake Gmail accounts, which was a real problem in the past years, fake reviews, and also prohibited content, so that's growing in the internet. On the other side, DMA is to fight self-preferencing and monopolies of large American companies. Europe is saying Google, Facebook, Amazon are too big, and they need to respect some competition in order to give room for European players. So let's first focus during 3 slides about the Digital Service Act, and then we'll move on to DMA. So the first thing we can note with Digital Service Act, it's they have been taking down 12 million business profile on the internet. So they're taking out a lot of fake or fraudulent business profile on Google Maps. They're also taking out a lot of reviews, a lot of videos. 170 million fraudulent reviews were taken in 2022. And they're also taking down all Gmail accounts that are not active, which is very important because when a Gmail account is stopped, all the reviews connected to this Gmail account are suppressed from your Google Maps account. It means that the number of reviews might decrease for certain businesses due to the Digital Service Act, which fight fake Gmail account or fake reviews. But these has all additional problems because sometimes your reviews as a user, as a client, can be removed for any reason because Google think it's fake, but it's not. So it happened to me several times. I go to a restaurant, I leave a reviews, and 2 months later, the reviews is removed. And it was legitimate. I actually went to this restaurant. So you have to understand that Digital Service Act also has unintended consequences, which is taking away actually real reviews and not fake ones. So that's something to take into account. It might happen to you or to your clients. There is not much you can do about it. And basically, it's using AI tools to take it away. And mine was taken away. And I could not actually post this review on the restaurant. Another thing that has lots of impact for you is the Digital Service Act fight against fake GBP. So the UE actually asked Google to remove all Google Maps listing fraud. So there is a lot of fraud, for example, in the banking industry, a lot of people are trying to change the phone numbers of listing to commit scam and push people to give them their banking account and password. So Google is very focused on fighting fake listings. So this has several impacts for your Google Maps listings. The first one is the difficulty of validation of these listings. So it used to be very simple. Now you need to call or to do a video to validate the listings, and that's why it's complicated. The second is the criteria for bulk validation. If you have 100 listings with the same names, then you can do what we call a bulk validation without having to validate each listing at a time. But the criteria for this specific methodology for Google Maps has actually been increased. So it's harder than ever to bulk validate. And the last part, which is extremely important, is the listing suspension. Actually, Google, each time there is an activity that is suspicious, they will actually suspend your listings. So if you change the address, or if you change the name, or if you change the activity, that might happen. Google might actually suppress or suspend your listing, and this is in application of the Digital Service Act. Should you have any question on this topic of the Digital Service Act, you can ask any question you might have in the chat, but we'll move on now to DMA. So we'll first go into DMA context, DMA for Google Maps, and get into the place sites. So if you want to understand DMA, you need to understand the first concept that is called VLOPS. The VLOPS are the very large online platforms and search engine. Those platforms actually have more than 45 million users, and you have some of the example here. So it can be Alibaba, Amazon, or Apple, but the one that we are going to focus on today are Google Maps and Google Search. So these VLOPS, there is a specific number that is called gatekeepers. A gatekeeper is a company that basically owns the gates of a platform. So you have some examples. The EU has defined 6 gatekeepers. So Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, the headquarters, the mother society of Google, and ByteDance, which is the headquarters of TikTok. So Alphabet is for Google, ByteDance is for TikTok, and these companies are considered as gatekeeper because they manage the gates of large platforms. In January 2024, there was the first test, and compliance deadline was on March 2024. The gatekeeper actually presented all their the conclusion to the EU Commission, but basically this is going to last forever, at least a year again, because it's kind of a cat and mouse subject. The EU wants all the companies to apply the rules, and the gatekeepers are saying it's too complicated and it will harm the experience of users. So that's why it's going to last a bit long. Actually, the DMA wants to fight something you need to know, which is called self-preferencing. So I'm going to read it for everyone to get in. The gatekeeper shall not treat more favorably in ranking or related to indexing and crawling services and products offered by the gatekeepers itself than similar service or product or third party. Basically, it's a legal document for the DMA. It's Article 6.5. But what does it mean? It means that gatekeepers shall not self-preference. They should not put their service first. And that's actually a big thing because, when you connect on the iPhone, you can have Apple Maps download very easily. So Apple is actually pushing for its own service, and this is self-preferencing. And the fines are starting to get to hit the headlines. Apple actually had a 1.8 billion fine a few months ago because of the DMA, because of self-preferencing, and it's about Apple Music over its competitor, Spotify, etc. So basically, Spotify kind of sued Apple because they were considering that Apple was self-preferencing the Apple Music platform because it owns the iPhone, basically. Now, if we get a look into Google, the DMA has several applications. The first one is data privacy. Google will have to add additional consent banner for user to share the data. So that's something you know with RGPD and so GDPR and etc. The second concept is data portability. Data portability is when I'm a user, I want to know everything a website, all the information a website have on me. So I'll ask the website, can you retrieve all the information that's about me? And usually the website, they cannot do that. So Google will have to implement a better data portability for me to access to all the data they have on myself. The third is default browser. So browser is actually what you're using right now to see me, and it's Chrome or Safari. And you will have to change easily the default browser on your computer. So that's another point. But the last point, which is most important in our discussion today for local networks, for company like you who have stores, it's the comparison website. So Google will have to introduce, actually did introduce, a unit that includes a group of links to comparison websites. And we got to get into those comparison websites today. The comparison websites are on 4 specific fields. The first one is on Google Flights. So, you know, Skyscanner or this kind of website, they were away from the top of Google. So these are comparison websites that Google needs to put at the top again. There is also Google Shopping, Google Business Profile, and Hotel Ads. So I think Google Flight might be completely shut down, but the other platform, Google Shopping, Google Business Profile, and Google Hotel Ads, we just have to adapt to this new regulation, as Google is considered as a gatekeeper. So the answer of Google to this new regulation is the rich results. So rich results aim to improve the visibility of ecosystem participants. We call them aggregators, suppliers, and business. There are 4 types of rich results. The first one is called place sites. So it's sites for places, for local store. The second is called job sites. It's basically sites for jobs. Flight sites. And the last one is product sites. And product sites is being tested in Germany, France, Czech, and UK. So these so basically, place sites and rich results, they take the form of a carousel. And the user can scroll horizontally to see more entities. So these rich results rely on the structured data of a web page of an aggregator. For example, Amazon or this kind of stuff. They basically get that information and put it in the carousel that you'll see more and more often. And the way they take the structured data of the web page is called schema.org, which is a kind of the code they're using to get and retrieve this information and put it in the web page. A very easy example to understand is the product sites. A product site is what you see here, is actually products that are a carousel that you can scroll on the right. And this is also called comparison websites or aggregators. This is an example in the UK. And it's basically to put at the top some comparison websites that are kind of a competitor to Google Shopping. So as you remember, DMA is to fight unfair competition. So product sites put more competition in those kind of websites. So if I summarize what we've just learned is we take the structured data from aggregators, we create what we call rich results. And there are 4 types of rich results: place sites, job sites, flight sites, and product sites. And today we'll focus on place sites. So let's get into what place sites are. You might have seen them already. So you know that the local pack of Google is a huge place for people to search stores around them. To give you an idea, the listings that Partout manage, so Partout, we manage a lot of listings, 300,000, they are seen every year 10 billion times. 10 billion times. So you're using our service. Every day you search for a local place on Google Maps. So we manage this local pack. But what is new is there is a new place site module. You can see it in red here, and is all the comparison websites. And this is in competition with the Google local pack. And this is a rich result or a carousel. something that is very important to understand. This concerns Google search, not Google Maps. Google Maps is an application you can download on your mobile. So it's very easy. You just download Google Maps. You might be using it. But in Google Maps, there will not be any place sites. Place sites will be on Google search. And so Google search is when you go on Google and you type something. And it's very different. And we know today that Google Maps account for the same number of views as Google search. So place sites will only be on Google search, where Google needs to implement more competition. So that's a study we did on all our businesses to show you what the part of Google Maps and Google search on desktop and on mobile of the audience of people looking for your listings, looking for your store. So to better understand what's going on with the place sites, we've discussed the matter with over 20 people, with Google, a few people at Google, with the EU Commission, and with a lot of experts. And this presentation today is about what we've come to understand. So the first thing we learned is that these tests are not finalized. So the test of Google implementing carousel, rich results, and product and place sites, everything can change at any time. The second thing that is really important is that now place sites are rarely at the top. They are often below GBP, which was not the case before. When you tested a few months ago, you might have seen that the place sites were above the GBP and now they're under the GBP. The third information that you need to remember is that the order of place sites vary depending on the search. So sometimes you'll have place sites like TripAdvisor, sometimes you'll have place sites from other websites. And this order is based on an internal algorithm that is being tested and that can change also. And the last point is maybe the most important, is that this is a cat and mouse game between Google and the EU Commission. And this will last for at least a year because it's hard to implement. And there is so much in place, so much to lose for Google and so much to lose for us as user. And a lot of people are kind of disappointed in some changes that have been done because it makes the user experience a bit more painful sometimes. And Google is saying that. So they support the DMA ambition, and that's normal because the DMA ambition is very good. It's to help consumer have choices, which is obviously a good target, a good objective. But at the same time, the problem is that Google explained it will force them to do trade-offs and reduce the choice available to people and businesses in Europe. So there is kind of a downside effect here, and that's what Near Media, a media in the US, which is not in Europe, is actually analyzing. They are in the US looking at the situation in France, they're looking at the situation in Italy, in the UK, and they're basically saying this, that in a few years before, directories like the Yellow Pages, Mappy, or this kind of website, they resell this traffic to high price to businesses. And the experience on this website were sometimes poor. But Google Local Pack, Google Maps, Google Business Profile, how we call it, allowed businesses to get that traffic for free. Because Google Business Profile, you can create a profile for free and you can update it for free. So the question Near Media is asking is, does the DMA favor competition at the expense of consumer and point of sale? So that's the question that DMA is asking. And the example to better understand this is the case of the hotel industry. There is a lot of articles that have come up, especially in France right now, about the disappointment of the hotel industry about these new changes. So the hotel industry was expecting an increase in their online visibility thanks to DMA. But basically what happened, Google put first travel agencies and US price comparison services. So you can get some names like Booking, Expedia, Agoda, Kayak, Trivago. And these are mainly US platforms. So the hotel sites, the own hotel websites, they were relegated to the bottom. And they thought they would gain free visibility and they lost visibility. So you can see how the application of the DMA can be complex because you want to put more fairness and actually it's at the expense of the own industry you're trying to save. So now, what is the impact on local SEO? So to get a step back, you need to understand what's going on in the directory and the local SEO industry. In 2014, when Partout was created, there used to be a lot of websites, very local websites we call directories, like DMA or Timeout or Páginas Amarillas or TripAdvisor. Those websites, they were massive at the time. But in 2016, Google Maps tried to grow very fast and take the market. Between 2016 and 2020, all these directories were suffering from the competition of Google Maps, which is important to remind, is and was a free tool. Then you had the growing platform, what we call Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Apple. Those platforms are connected to the database of Partout, Apple, and Instagram. So when you update your information in Partout, the stores, we update in those platforms. But the regulation came, the Digital Market Act came, trying to put back the old telephone directories into the game, because those websites, they were European, and to promote competition in this space. So that's actually what happened, and that's where we are now. So we have tested a lot to give you some ideas of which websites we're talking about. So we identified 5 types of place sites. The first one is your brand website. Sometimes it ranks in the results, and that's what we call a store locator. I don't know if you know what a store locator here is, and we'll discuss this deeply in a few slides. The second is the main directories. The main directories are Facebook, the Yellow Pages, Mappy, and others, depending on the country you are in. Then you have less common directories, such as Tiendeo, Bonial, Foursquare, Apple Maps, and last but not least, you have specialized directories like TripAdvisor, Paris Vendu, Sortir à Paris, if you want to find a club in Paris, or Treatwell if you want to find a hairdresser in Europe. So those websites are specialized. They don't appear at the top when it's not related to the correct industry. Now, what Partout enables its clients to do is to update all the websites that is connected to our database. So when you are a Partout client, you just go on the website of Partout, update your open hours, and it will be automatically synced to a lot of websites. And the more your data is updated on those websites, the more the other directories will get that data and update their own database. So it will help have more information consistent from your store locator, the vocal assistant, the maps, and the search networks. Now, we can see a lot of tests right now. In the left, you have a local pack, which is not with 3 listings, but with 4 listings. So it's a test. What's going on? The first is sponsorized, actually. Then you have on the right, Google Shopping coming up, or Google listings, depending. So lots of things are currently changing. So if we want to use a framework to understand what's going on, we'll divide the types of search you do in 3 types: direct search, brand search, and competitive search. So a direct search is when I'm looking for a specific store, or like Leroy Merlin in Paris or Leroy Merlin in Milan. I'm looking for a specific store. In that case, DMA and, of course, the place sites don't come into action. You have the listings as it used to be. So you can see Leroy Merlin on the left and Gémeaux at the right. Direct search has not changed due to DMA. Then let's take brand search. A brand search is when I'm looking for a brand like McDonald's or BNP or Burger King. I don't know where I want to go, but I know I want to go in this type of store, like Decathlon or this kind of store. So I'm typing Burger King around me, and I see a local pack with only Burger King. Here we see only BNP Paribas, which is a bank in France. And you can see the place sites appear below. And you can see the experience on the place sites. There is no photo, so it's a bit a poor experience here, and we'll come back to that later. Then you have a third type of search is called discovery search. Discovery search, also called competitive search, is a search where you are in competition with the stores in your activity. It's where I'm looking for a hairdresser, a restaurant, or I don't know, flower, someone to sell flower, I don't know how you say it. Basically, here you have the example. In December 2023, the place sites that are called sites de lieu in French, but they are called differently in each country, these place sites were at the top. But Google put them now at the bottom. So it's interesting. It used to be at the top, but people don't click on them. So they are relegated at the bottom. People still use a lot Google Maps, way more than place sites. So what has changed? Let's get into the impact on your clients, on the people that go on the internet. So a company called Neomedia that we already talked about, they analyze people eye tracking. So eye tracking is you put someone in front of a computer and you track their eyes. So you look what they look, okay? It's pretty simple. They did that for 100 individuals based in Ireland. And they asked us to look for a restaurant around them. So imagine you're on a computer, we tell you, find a restaurant around you to organize a dinner. What would you do? And they record the eye tracking, and actually they analyzed what the people were trying to use. And what they say is the new place site model introduced to comply with European Union regulation around self-referencing may as well be invisible. So this conclusion is very interesting because they're just saying that it's not very useful, it's not very used. So that's a bit of a problem from a European perspective, from an EU regulation perspective. I just want to thank Marie-Dominique for that question that we'll answer at the end. Should you have any question, feel free really to ask them all along the way. The more questions we have, the better. It's always really nice to interact with you at the end. Now, place sites, you might wonder what is the level of engagement on these websites. So based on the eye tracking study that I was talking about, you can see the engagement and the visible. So at the end of the search, we just ask a person, did you see that there were a place site model? So 42% of the people, they didn't even see the place site model. And you can see the difference. Just one point that is very important, this study was done in December. So the place site module was at the top. Now it's at the bottom, so the figures are still down. I can imagine, based on the fact that Google decided to put the module below the local pack. So you can see there is a very low engagement. Why? So the Neomedia study points out to a problem of rich results being not very rich. So as I said before, the rich results are based on the data, structured data on a website, but the directories don't have enough structured data. So here you can see a photo, but on the 2 page on the left, there is no photo. So the problem is not only that it's difficult to put these websites in the interface, but it's also difficult to make them look attracting. And that's a big challenge for Google. So the conclusion of Neomedia study basically say that there's not big impact, and we're gonna discuss that. Another thing that you might have seen and that we were pretty impressed by, it's the double local pack. So we don't know why, but in many results now, you have 2 local packs. So one at the top and a second below. So Google Maps is also gaining place. I don't know why it's going on, but what is interesting is all the trends about Google search generative experience, because Google is testing a lot of stuff in the US. If you're interested in that, I think you should definitely get into Google and just type search generative experience, which is the future of internet that we might talk about one day also in English. So now, even if we should expect a decrease in traffic on GBP partout, and a lot of people believe that display sites will only drain a small part of the traffic for several reasons. I'm gonna get into the 4 main issues that we see about local sites. The first one is the user experience. We believe that there are too many additional clicks before you can get it. The second is localization. The third is UI for user interface. And the last one is data quality. Let's get into these main issues too. The first one is that sometimes you have a deceptive experience. So here I was looking for a beauty salon next to me, and I see Le Bon Coin, which is a French company that actually doesn't show stores usually. So I clicked on it, and here you have a beauty salon that is for sale. It's not a beauty salon when you can book something. It's a beauty salon that is for sales. So it's very strange to put it in the local place sites. They should not appear here. So there is a lot of deceptive experience, and that might explain the reason why people are not clicking on it. The second is that the website you have to click several times. So Bonial is a very good website. It's a website that actually push for offers by the retailers, but people use it mostly to get promotions, to get special offers, and not to find the open hours of the stores. So partout we update information on Bonial, but you can see here that on Google Maps you have 0-click answer. You don't need to click on anything to find the open hours. It's written directly on your mobile. On the other hand, if you want to use a place site, you need to click on the place site, then click on the good store, then click to see the open hours. You need to do 3 clicks to access this information for which you can access directly on Google. So that's the second reason, is because the UX is not perfect. The third point that is really important is localization. So basically, when you search for a supermarket, you agree with me, you type supermarket, and they will localize you. Google will localize you to suggest you supermarket that are around you, right? The problem is that the place sites, they don't have access to your localization. What does it mean? It means that if I'm in Paris and I just type supermarket, the place sites will give me supermarkets all over France if I'm in France, because they don't know where I am. Only Google, to which I gave my localization, will know. So that's a problem. If I type supermarket in Nice and I'm in Nice, they would show me supermarket everywhere. So here you have an example. I type supermarket and they gave me supermarket in Montpellier, which is in the south of France, and I was actually in Paris. So it's not relevant to my query. It's not relevant to the context I'm in. I was not looking for a supermarket in Montpellier. I was looking for a supermarket around me. So this is really deceptive for the user to have place sites that gives them websites, stores, that are not close to them. Another point is the quality of the data. So Google Maps quality, data quality is growing. It's not perfect. And thanks to company like Partout, it's increasing. And thanks to you guys updating the information in Partout, we are providing Google and the platforms with a lot of information. The problem is small and medium businesses, like small businesses, they usually don't update everywhere. They update mainly on Google. So all the other websites have not perfect quality of data. So here is an example. On Sunday, you can see that the open hours is different from the website of the clients from Google on the website place sites. So there is mistakes. There is more mistakes in place sites than in Google Business Profile. And that can also be disappointing because you click 3 times, you arrive to an open hour, and it's not correct. So if you do that 3 times, then you say, okay, I'm done. I'll use the more accurate information, which is in Google Maps today. So that's another issue for the place sites and the application of the DMA. The last point, and I think it's also relevant pointing, is the way directories make their money is through ads. So here is a website of a directory, and you can see that there is ads on the right, ads on the bottom, and the experience is not as, I would say, cool or nice than with Google Maps. There is no map, and the experience is not perfect. So not only the UX is difficult, but the UI is also difficult, the user interface. And that's why people will most probably keep on using maps. Now, we're going to get into another aspect of the DMA. The DMA will help store locator to rank higher in the search results. A store locator is basically the Google Maps on your website. So here is an example. You can put a map with all your stores, and you can help people take a meeting, to an appointment, or to call you, or to see the news on your local stores, etc. So Part2 provides local store locator to more than 100 clients. So a lot of companies use Part2 to develop this store locator for them. And if you're interested to actually change all your store locator, you can call us or write us, because this is a product that has been growing very fast over the past 2 years, thanks to the DMA. We'll get into it. In fact, the store locator, if it's well managed, so it needs to be optimized in terms of SEO, in terms of structured data, as we said, we mentioned structured data. If you have very good store locator that has a lot of content and that is optimized, then you have a higher chance to rank in the local place sites. So you can see here the place sites, and Carrefour store locator appears in the place sites. So it's very interesting to see that store locator, thanks to DMA, will rank higher than before. Another thing that we have witnessed is the store locator in the local pack. So you can see here 2 Google listings, Leroy Merlin, and another one, and you can find another listing, which is the store locator data. So Google Maps is not the only thing that will appear in the local pack. Maybe in the future, we'll have more store locator appearing in the Google Maps. I'm not going to ask you if you checked your store locator recently, but doing an audit is actually the best thing you can do right now to prepare for the change of DMA. You should definitely check what is the experience and what you can improve. Another thing that we've done is we witness the store locator at the top of a discovery search. Here we see moving service. So I want to move from one place to another. And Demeco, one of our clients, for which we actually changed the whole store locator, they rank above the local pack and above the place sites. So it's really, really nice to have a brand ranking on a discovery search at the top of the results. So store locator can be a very good way to attract clients to your websites, because they can capture local intent, as a store locator suggests. Now, if you want to check if your store locator is qualitative, you can do a quick thing that will make you feel like a developer. You can go on your website and do inspect. When you do inspect, basically you right click, you just find what we call schema.org. I don't know if you heard of that, but schema.org is a language that is common to all search engine. I'm talking about Yahoo, I'm talking about Bing, Yandex, and of course, Google. This language is helping the search engine to understand what kind of data you have on your store locator. An example would be the metadata, so the data on your data. So if you have a logo, how can Google know that it's a logo on your website? You need to tell Google it's a logo. If you have open hours, you need to tell Google it's an open hour. If you have a geolocation, you need to tell them again. So basically what Part2 does with the store locator is implement the best practices of schema.org into your store locator, into your website. And that's not the only thing. You need also to push for more content, the service you have, or the photos of your team. And that's actually a great challenge to do, because you need to update that information. And of course, the most important thing is that your store locator data is the same as Google Maps. If you have inconsistent information between the open hours of your store locator and the open hours of your Google Maps listings, then Google will decrease your local SEO. And the same thing happens for the other websites. And that's why what we call presence management as the update of all your information across all platforms, is actually a complementary offer with what we call a store locator, because it's supposed to be the same data and you need to update them, of course, every day as your business updates. Now, the biggest question that's left is the reviews, because we've heard a lot about the review changes recently. So we still have 15 minutes and we'll talk about this. And of course, if you have questions about Store Locator, feel free to ask. And more importantly, if you want a free audit of your Store Locator, getting into the metadata and the schema.org analysis, you can just reach out to us and it's totally free. We'll do a full audit on the content, the UX, the UI, and of course, the structure of your data. So let's come back to reviews. So you might have seen that now there are reviews that are added to your Google listings and you didn't ask for them. They just popped up. Here you have a review of Treatwell that is pushed on a Google listing. Very important point. Treatwell is a website you have to pay for to be put on the website. So this is not possible for any company to retrieve these reviews from Treatwell, because you need to be on Treatwell and to go on the platform to actually answer those reviews. Now, the same way we mentioned the place sites, I want to get into the review sites that might appear on your listing. So the first kind of reviews that can appear is the Store Locator reviews. This is very interesting. If you put schema.org on your reviews on your website, then Google will see that and take them and put it in your Google listing. So if you decide to refactor all your Store Locator, with part 2, we'll put the reviews on your website for each store, Then the second type of platform is special platforms. Maybe Trustpilot, Mapster, Facebook, Treatwell, TripAdvisor, Yelp, etc. And we can see other platforms less frequent. Now, on the left, you can see a listing, right? It's a Google Maps listing. If you go down, you see avis, which in French means reviews. And you can see Société Info and Google. Those are the two places where Google find reviews. We analyzed 300 listings manually. I did that with an employee of Part 2, Pauline. It took us a lot of time. For each listings we analyzed from different industry, we looked into which websites were appearing in terms of reviews. So 49% of the Google listing we analyzed had only Google reviews. So rien means nothing in French, sorry for the translation. Then you have 8% from Société Info, which is a website that usually has no reviews. We have few from Uber Eats, Yellow Pages, from the Store Locator, some Yelp, Mapster, Trustpilot, Meilleur Agent. And on the right, you have way more websites. Basically, Google Maps reviews still account for 80% of the reviews, and 5% is from Facebook. So the trend is not that big. You should still focus on Google Business Profile reviews because they account for the vast majority of the reviews. But the problem is the same way local place sites were difficult to implement, the reviews from those additional websites are complex. So the first thing is Trustpilot. So a lot of companies asked for Trustpilot reviews on location. Trustpilot has local reviews on store, mostly in the UK. Okay, so if you're in Spain, in Italy, in Switzerland, for now, the review on Trustpilot are for your brand, not for local stores. So here are some examples of clients, Meilleur Taux or Galeries Lafayette or Renault. But these reviews you can see is for Renault Italy, for Renault Spain, for Renault Denmark. It's not for a car dealer of Renault. So reviews here on Trustpilot are mostly for brand, except for the UK. So if you're in this country, Trustpilot will not be integrated in your Google local reviews. Is it clear for everyone? Don't know. Yeah, you can just do a small thumbs up to show me that it's thank you so much. Reviews that are not always relevant. So basically here you can see Leclerc, which is a kind of the equivalent of Carrefour, but in France you have two types of review, Google and Galbier. So Galbier has 26,000 reviews. So I was wondering, what kind of reviews is that? So Leclerc would have more reviews on Galbier than on Google. So I went on the website, and what did I find? Galbier is a website for a ham produced in Savoie. So basically what happened? Galbier just said, I sell ham. People left reviews on the ham of Galbier that is sold in a supermarket, but the algorithm of Google just retrieve all the reviews from this ham and put them on the Google of Leclerc. So you can understand it's not relevant all the time. And that's why it's important to understand that Google is improving. It's really, really hard to manage those kind of volume in terms of review, because you have millions of reviews across the internet, and they need to match the listing with the reviews on other websites. And what is crazy is that most of the websites where Google retrieves the review from, you'll have to pay for answering them. So this is reviews that are on Partout on the website that I didn't know. You can see 4.9, so I'm pretty happy. But if you have 1.1 out of 5, you're not happy. So I looked into this website and I tried to answer to those reviews that are put on the Partout company. And what did I find? I actually need to pay 199 euros to read those reviews and answer them. So a lot of companies are making the most of this trend to just create websites with reviews that appear on a Google business profile, but that are not relevant or that don't even have reviews. So I've tested another one for one of our clients, which is BNP Paribas, a big network of 3,000 local agencies in France. And I thought, what is Société Info? So Société Info is, I think, a website that gives you the information of each society. And they were saying that they had 278 reviews on one specific BNP agency, which is 10 times more than Google. So I just clicked on them. And to read the review, what do I have to do? I have to create an account and connect to pay for, again, those reviews. So basically, there is a lot to be improved in this. And I will kind of finish by that. Everybody asks us, because we at a company of 400 people, I think we are one of the most expert company in the world on those subjects. So a lot of people came to us and said, what's going on? Where do these review come? And if I have to conclude this whole training, whole presentation, I would say that regarding reviews, we have examined hundreds of listings. We have contacted Google. We have tried to understand the algorithm, but we have not understood it right now. So we'll keep you posted on everything we see, as we always do. This is the end of this presentation. I hope it was interesting. It's always hard to do a presentation in English, as it's not my natural language, as you might have seen. But obviously, it's also a complex topic. But I'm more than happy to answer any question you might have. And I'll just go on this. Yep. So if you have questions here, you can add them directly, and I'm going to get into them. So there were several questions. The first one is it the reason why Google is not in the top result when looking for a place? It's much harder to access Google Maps than before. That's true. It's much harder to access Google Maps, but now Google Maps is appearing at the top again. So basically, this is the DMA reason. The second question is, what is the criteria for? Thank you so much, everyone, for the message. I see all of them. It's really nice from you. So the second question was, what is the criteria for the placement of brand business on the place sites? SEO, paid investment. So there is no paid investment for place sites today. So the placement of the brand on place sites is only related to the SEO that Google has developed for this specific module. So it's mostly the accuracy of the information and the domain authority of the websites they will show. Okay, I don't know if that answered the question. Third question, has the UK adopted the same framework as the DMA? Yes, UK has adopted the same place sites. So Google actually applied the place sites in the UK too. Question, does Part2 also have knowledge about cookie by improvement for Google consent mode? I'm not a big expert on the cookie topic, to be totally frank, because that's mostly on the website. So there are companies like Content Square, or this kind of companies that are specialized on that. We are mostly specialized on platforms. So I don't want to say to tell you mistakes. So you can ask any question. Otherwise, we'll end this webinar. It was always a pleasure to have you around. Yes, and if you want to plan a meeting, we're here for that. You can obviously contact us and to plan a meeting. I don't know if there are still people. Thank you, everyone, and feel free to reach out. Have a nice end of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.